Alrighty, then we are back. It is a Sports Extra. I'm your host, Ruimbo Chakureka, and I'm joined by my two co-hosts here, Brian Matamba and Tafazwa Tichaongwana. And we are going to be talking about a whole lot of issues. But before we get into what we'll be talking about this week, well, let's look at some of the results that happened in the world of sport over the weekend. So some interesting results that came through over the weekend, one which I'm not too particularly happy about in the Manchester Derby, but we'll talk a little bit about that later on. For now, we want to start with the issue of tennis. And of course, Zimbabwe has been relegated from World Group 2 in the Davis Cup. They lost 3 matches to 1 in the Davis Cup, tie that was played at Harare Sports Club. And I'll start off with Brian. Brian, a serious dent on the confidence of Zimbabwe, because we used to play the Andre Agassi's, the Pete Sampras's and so on. But here we are, and we're now in World Group 3, and who knows who will be meeting there, Brian.
Yeah, definitely Zim tennis has regressed. Funny enough, the fact that we've played in the World Group, but of lately, we're always one step forward, one step back. That's what's keep happening with the Zim Davis Cup team. Seems like those are the past days now. I don't know how we're going to get back to those heights again, but it seems right now it's been downhill.
It's an indictment on the level of development, Mr. Titch. We love to call him Mr. Titch. It's an indictment on the level of development for tennis, because after Wayne Black, Byron Black, Kevin Elliott, Genius Chidzikwe, and other potentials who never really got to realize their potential, like the Martin Zuas, the Peter Nyamandes of old. Beyond that, we never really went into going to the grassroots and actually making it the kind of sport that would make us proud again.
I think tennis, when it comes to the Zimbabwe setup, I think we need to just have a bit of a reality check and accept that we've never really had any tennis structures. If you go back to those glory days with the Black family, I think you can even just say the Black family were the ones who carried Zimbabwe. This time around, if you look at this particular Davis Cup tie, where we got relegated to the ghetto, that's what I call World Group 3, man.
Yeah.
If it was football,
Yeah.
that's where we are. I think it's just the reality of where our tennis is, and just the fact that the Locke family and the Sibanda family, which provided all the players for this particular tie, are maybe not as good in terms of grooming and training as the Black family, because I don't think Tennis Zimbabwe has really done much, even when we were at our peak, to sort of grow and support the players. It's almost like what we've seen with golf, with Nick Price. He was the outstanding player, but ever since then, when he left the scene, we haven't really shown that much. So that is disappointing. I think we missed Karanyika, that's his name, right?
Takanyi
Garanganga, yeah. I think he was sorely missed. I think Ethan, the younger Sibanda brother, was a bit out of his depth. McClooney will be disappointed, I think, in that first singles match on the Friday afternoon. I think he had about 3 break points to win the set and the match, but he couldn't complete that. So maybe a bit of inexperience creeping up at El Salvador. That's disappointing, but it's only going to get worse from here.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so let's go a little bit deeper into this issue before we quickly move on. Brian, how much, Titch is very right there in terms of families have generally supported the sport. How much of a factor do you think it plays into creating a bigger and better pool of players when we have got more public schools actually playing tennis? I mean, the last time I saw my school, Churchill High School, playing some tennis was years ago, almost a decade ago. That was the last time I ever heard they were actually in some form of a tennis match against another school and things like that. So how much do you think that plays a huge role in getting tennis to be competitive in Zim again?
I think the reason why we don't have any new players emerging again is that there's no conveyor belt. So we need to go back to basic, back to the drawing board. If it's possible, if we can get corporate or someone who's got the vision to make sure that they resurface these tennis courts in these public schools and make sure that they start playing tennis again and get coaches in this. I know it will take money, but that's where we need to go. If we really want to go forward, like long term, not looking now. Right now we're in Group 3, let's accept that, but let's go back to basic and work maybe a 10, 15-year program where we'll get better kids and send them out to the States and get more exposed to better tennis. But right now, there's no quick fix to this problem.
All right, one of the other challenges that we were talking about off air, Mr. Titch, is the fact that our players, currently the ones that we're looking to, I mean, we'll celebrate Sasha Chimedza. She got an ITF scholarship to go and learn tennis, play tennis, and hopefully develop and go to the next level. The biggest challenge that we have is that our top tennis players, Benjamin Locke, Courtney Locke, all of them are playing ITF events. But we know that if you're going to be counted, or if you want to bumper with the big boys, then you have to be playing. If you're a man, you have to be playing ATP tournaments. And if you're a lady, you have to be playing WTA tournaments in order to be considered, whether at junior level or at senior level. Isn't that one of our challenges?
That is definitely one of our challenges. And I think it speaks to the state of tennis here in that, you know, it's the players who can afford to play who are playing tennis, not the players who are actually the best. So the players who have the resources, and that's why you see them being limited to ITF tournaments in Tunisia. If they're lucky, they go to South America, to Brazil. But you go back to the days of the Black brothers, and even Cara Black, the sister, they were winning, not just playing, they were winning Grand Slams, you know, which is the highest level of tennis. And to a certain extent, even as fans, as pundits, as administrators, we're sort of drunk on this nostalgia from the past. You know, where we're thinking, you know what, but are we still doing the same things that was done by the black parents to make sure that, you know, the kids had the right support? They were playing it. I think all of them had scholarships in the States. All of them ended up playing on the major tours. So, you know, it's not too much of a surprise then when you see, you know, Benjamin Locke, Courtney Locke not doing so well, because it's the level of tennis that they're exposed to.
Yeah, definitely the level of tennis that they're exposed to, and hopefully we can be able to get out of this rut that we're stuck in the ghetto, as Mr. Titch would like to call it, and hopefully get back to the most competitive level. But before we go for the break, we just want to quickly touch on another local issue, and that is, of course, we had the Castle Lager Premier Soccer League being played over the weekend, and another win, well, a good win, we would say, for the city, which was painted blue just for a short time. And that was Dynamo's winning against Bulawayo Chiefs. It was an away match. They won by 2-0. But Tish, there were serious challenges with that match, in particular when the penalty call was given to Bulawayo Chiefs, and then there was a massive stoppage in play.
Yeah, I think from reports that were coming out of Bulawayo Stadium in Bulawayo, I think it was a 15-minute delay, because I think that was the extra time, that was additional time that was put on after that. For me, it's embarrassing when a so-called big club, you know, starts shaking in their boots because a minnow like Bulawayo Chiefs has gotten a penalty, and you start throwing your toys out of play. I don't care whether that was a justified penalty or not, but a club of Dynamo's stature, for them to be making noise because they're 1-0 up, and the Bulawayo Chiefs, I think this is their third season in the top flight, have gotten a penalty, and you're shaking your boots. The coach is telling the players to walk off the pitch. I think that just goes to show how the mighty have fallen. I think it's a bad advert for our domestic game. Just imagine Manchester City. They're playing against Brentford, right? They're playing against, you know, Brentford, similar to the Bulawayo Chiefs, very innovative, good on social media, you know, using data analysis and all those things, doing fantastic work. But when it comes to the product on the field of play, they're still worlds apart. And then Manchester City are leading 1-0 against Brentford. It's about 60 minutes played. And Pep Guardiola tells KDB, tells Sterling, guys, walk off the pitch. Do you, how
We're
ridiculous,
having none of this.
How ridiculous. What does that say? It says more about Manchester City than it says about the incompetency of the match referee or whatever Bulawayo Chiefs were doing. So I think if I was a Dynamos fan, which I'm not, I would have been embarrassed that, you know, those are the levels that my team has stooped to. But it also speaks maybe to the pressure that Tundra and Dynamos are feeling, because, they haven't done well up to this point.
Yeah, they haven't done well. And whilst talking about that, Brian, these are some of the things that are affecting the domestic game in terms of being able to bring in the necessary numbers that will make football the glory that it actually once was. I mean, when the likes of the Alois Bunjiras, the Stuart Murisas, the Claudius Ziripais were playing, the Dr. Tauya Mrewas, and we can go back in history and mention all these names. When they were playing, how Rufaro Stadium, National Sports Stadium would be jam-packed. But now we're finding less and less crowds coming through, less and less families actually coming through to the grounds. Don't you think that this is some of the stuff as well that is speaking to that?
Definitely, it's some of the stuff, because you cannot pay your hard-earned money and you see such unprofessionalism, because I would say this is unprofessionalism. How do you walk off the pitch because another team has been awarded a penalty? You play to the whistle. If you're a professional, you play to the whistle. And when fans come and play and watch football, they want to see a good advert of sport, not this which happened at Barberfield. I'm not happy with what Dynamos did there. It's very unacceptable there.
Yeah, definitely unacceptable. Now, quickly before we go, I know somebody that is excited at what is currently happening right now. Manica Diamonds are sitting on top of the log. We've got a Wasu here. Mr. Titch is a Wasu. So
wise man from the east.
Well, let's see how wise you'll be by the end of the season. But just quickly on Manica Diamonds before we go for the break, Titch, doing really well.
I think what has impressed me most about Manica Diamonds, I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, it's early doors, it's early stage of the season, is that, it has been their recruitment. I think they've gone around the league picking players that trace their roots back to Manica and back to Mutare, and so far that has been working for them. Nyasa Chintuli, coming back from Ngezi Platinum Stars, he's the joint top goal scorer in the league right now with 5 goals. You've got Lloyd Katongo Mara, he's got 5 goals as well. You've got Tichawana Magubura, he's got 4 goals. So, we have got a goal drought in Zimbabwe, but not in the east.
Wow. Well, definitely
you set me up, man. It was a layup. I had to take it.
You had to take it. And it was a slam dunk right there. Well, we're going to be taking a short break, but when we come back, we've got more to talk about. A legend died over the weekend. And, of course, we are going to be talking about the Manchester derby. So stay locked on to Sports Extra.
Huh? Do we have to talk about the Manchester derby?
Well, we have to. Welcome back to Sports Extra, a fantastic first segment. But now we're talking about a legend of cricket, a man who definitely redefined what was called spin bowling. The Australian cricket legend Shane Warne passed away at the age of 52 due to a suspected heart attack. Despite what you've been seeing on social media, I don't think we'll talk too much about that. But let's talk about what kind of impact that Shane Warne actually had on the game of cricket. And we've heard many players from Australia as well as other countries as well within the cricket fraternity talking about how great a guy he was, both on the field of play and off the field of play. But Brian, how important was his impact, particularly on the field of play?
I think he's one of the greatest players ever to grace the game, and I couldn't say he reinvented, but he defined what spin bowling is all about, and he made sure that a lot of kids growing up wanted to become spin bowlers. Because if you watch the way he used to spin that ball, wow, it was just out of this world. And you'd be shocked the way he used to spin that ball.
Oh yeah, I mean, whilst talking about that, the competition, Mr. Titch, between him and Mutia Muralitharan was something to behold. Particularly, I mean, there was a time that they really dominated it, and obviously there was one who was just way behind them. Anil Kumble was also trying to be in there, but really it was a 2-horse race between him and Mutia Muralitharan, and Shane Warne becoming the first to reach 700. That was pretty significant.
Yeah, I think Warne is probably the biggest rock star we've seen in cricket. I've said this before, I'll say it again. He's like the Diego Maradona of cricket. And if you look at the period in which Shane Warne came into prominence, it was just after, that great West Indies teams of the 70s and 80s, where it was all about pace bowling. I think that's what, especially in Test cricket. And Brian talked about his amazing leg spin technique. I think up to now, yes, you talked about his competition, but I think Shane Warne was in a class of his own in terms of his technique, his ability, and just the way he carried himself on and off the field. I think was a rock star. He was a legend on and off it. But for me as well, I think he brought a bit of character into Test cricket. Because I think when he came in, I think he started around the mid-90s, all the way into the early noughties. But before we had the pizzazz that is T20 cricket, the pizzazz that was cricket was Shane Warne. Especially when even in a Test match, he always brought that excitement. The way he would bamboozle batsmen. I think it was Andrew Strauss.
A serious victim of that.
A serious victim of that. So I think for a different generation of cricket fans, he probably made them fall in love with the game pre T20. I think a lot of the character, the personalities that we see, in T20 cricket right now, I think it has its genesis in what Shane Warne was able to do. So I think, I'll buttress what Brian said as well. For me, the greatest Australian cricketer I've ever seen, and arguably, and for me, the most influential cricketer ever.
Yeah, ultimately, I mean, the influence that he had in terms of spin bowling, leg spin bowling in particular, because leg spin had actually died over the years, and he really brought it back to the fore. And we've now seen how many leg spinners have been able to come out of the Australian setup. First to come and partner him in the Test side, even though he wasn't a regular, was Stuart McGill. And then we also had Brad Hogg also coming through. And now the youngsters that are there, you've got Adam Zampa, and look how well he's doing in terms of T20 cricket. And that's
Nathan Lyon.
Nathan Lyon, well, he's an off spinner. But Matthew Swepson, he also comes to mind. So you find a whole lot in terms of spin bowling and how it's now come into the Australian setup. So Shane Warne, definitely a legend that we enjoyed. Box office, as many were saying.
In the many tributes that have been coming through for Shane Warne, I think it was from, I think, what's the wicketkeeper for Australia? Adam
Gilchrist.
Yeah. Adam Gilchrist. Yeah,
he had a little bit of Ian Healy. Adam Gilchrist.
But yeah, it was Adam Gilchrist. I just didn't get that. He posted on Twitter just in the hours after his death, and he says, Adam Gilchrist, one of the greatest batsmen of all time, says the highlight of his career was keeping wicket for Shane Warne, because he had the best view of that amazing technique that Brian has talked about, that you've said influenced a whole generation of leg spinners. And when somebody who's had such a storied career as well says the highlight for him was just kneeling behind the stumps and watching Warne in action, I think there's just it's like Gigi Buffon telling you that the highlight of his career was seeing the ball go past him as Messi struck it.
Pretty much so. And I'm sure he would be able to say that because, he was on the wrong end of a couple of shots. But, definitely rest in peace to Shane Warne, and, of course, condolences to the Warne family there. And we hope that as the state-assisted funeral has already been announced by the Prime Minister of Australia, the Premier of Victoria, which is where he also came from, have also come out. So we do say rest in peace, and we will forever miss Shane Warne. Well, when we come back in the next and final episode, we're going to be talking about the Manchester Derby. What?
Are we not out of time?
A challenge. What a challenge that was. Catch you in the next segment. So welcome back to the final segment of Sports Extra. Once again, my name is Rumbo Chakoreka. I'm your main host, but I'm joined, of course, by my co-hosts here, Brian Matamba and Tafadzwa Tichawangwana. And we're going to be talking about one of the worst Manchester derbies I've witnessed in my lifetime. And that happened yesterday. Oh, goodness me. Manchester City controlling that game, winning by 4 goals to 1. Brian, for a Liverpool supporter who was hoping that the Red Devils would do the business, what an absolute damn squid, you'd say.
I'd say at first, when the game started, it looked like City was really going to run away with it. Eventually, they did run away with it. But there was a bit of hope when Manchester managed to equalize from that beauty from Jordan Sancho. So I was thinking maybe there's something, maybe Man U can get a draw. But second half, Man U just didn't turn up. They looked like a team which is not being coached. It's all over the place. And over the years, they've tried to buy superstars, but it's just not working. There's no system, there's no philosophy. It seems like it's a broken house. It's not working.
I'll come in as a Man U fan, which sort of buttress something they were saying. You know, as a Manchester United fan, the old enemy, the biggest enemy, is Liverpool. So for me, as much as we lost to Manchester City, I got some satisfaction that we did not help Liverpool in any way to try and win the league. And just to, I need to push back on you. You said that was the worst Manchester derby you've seen from Manchester United performance. You've forgotten Mario Balotelli, why not me, 6-1?
No, the score line may not have been the worst, but the performance definitely was. Even in that 6-1 score line, when we were battered, bruised in that encounter, you still saw heart from Manchester United. Yesterday, especially in the second half, I am 100% with Brian. It's like they didn't come out. They just stayed in the dressing room. Bruno Fernandes yesterday was absolutely horrible. His passes were not getting anywhere. He was losing the ball far too much, and he wasn't even tracking back. You want to see heart in a derby. Whether it's Man United against Liverpool or Man United against Man City, you want to see heart. And that is something that most likely we're going to be seeing when Liverpool meets Manchester City. Both sides are going to be going pound for pound, blow for blow.
No, I definitely hear you. I think within the first 5 minutes, I think there was a phase of play where Edison and Kyle Walker and a couple of guys were just passing the ball inside the 16-yard box. And they pushed the ball out with so much ease. But then when you'd watch Man United in possession, you know, you'd be lucky if we kept the ball for 10 seconds. And I think the most damning stat I saw was towards the end of the game, in the last 10 or 15 minutes, where Manchester City had 120 passes.
And 4 shots at goal.
And we had 10.
And
it's no laughing matter.
Yeah,
it's
no
laughing matter.
I'm
this is a serious problem.
No, it's a serious problem. And that's why the likes of Roy Keane and Paul Scholes are now just literally laughing even at the time that they're doing your punditry and analysis, because they're saying, I mean, you don't even know where to point the problem. Where is the problem? Is it an issue of motivation? Is it an issue of contracts? Is it an issue that there is not enough in terms of coaching that is going on? And I would beg to differ when it comes to coaching, because
I think it's recruitment.
It's recruitment that has been a problem.
I think it's culture. I think it's the culture that is.
The entire system is wrong.
There was no cultural reset after post-2013 when Fergie left, you know, because Fergie then tried to replicate that by bringing in David Moyes, and then we took a complete, then after that came Louis van Gaal, and then we were like, okay, this is not working, we need immediate success. We brought in Jose Mourinho. Then we were like, oh no, nostalgia. Who won it in '99? We bring Ole. Now we're like, who trained, who inspired Pep and Jurgen Klopp? Ralph Rangnick. So it's like we're trying to find these solutions without taking a holistic look at what's wrong. I think there needs to be an acceptance, first of all, and it starts with us maybe as fans. There needs to be accepted that we are not what we used to be. I think the Liverpool fans can relate to this. I think
we went through
for 30-something years. Do you know when Arsenal fans have been going this since 2004? So, you know, right now they don't even have the energy to talk about the Invincibles anymore. For a long while they held on to that Invincible. But look at what Mikel Arteta is doing. You know, just yes, they might not be challenging for the title, but you can see that there's a plan. They're building something. Whereas now, yes, I won't lie, I was hyped. I was doing cartwheels, and you asked me to do it all over again. When Ronaldo came back, it was worth whatever we're going through right now. The nostalgia, the drama, and even, you know, those first couple of games. But in the context of where we're trying to go, then, and in a sober mind, you're like, was that the right move?
It was never.
It was never the. But for a lot of
hype and
for the
the
hype for a
commercial
lot
sides.
of not even for the even for a lot of long time Manchester United fans, they especially with the possibility of him going to City, I would even say whatever we're going through this season is worth it just to have those few moments where he was back. But then when you're now thinking in the long term, you know, I'm excited about Elanga, Jadon Sancho. You know, I liked Peter Drury's commentary yesterday. He said something about Jadon Sancho, the adolescents who couldn't quite make it at City, becomes an adult at United across the town. You know, Peter Drury is a goat for that. But yeah, but United, I think Harry Maguire is a fraud. He does not need.
Okay, but no,
he should not be playing.
Let's ask bigger
No,
questions.
he should not be playing for Manchester United, let alone in the Premier League. He should go to Turkey or
He's a
something.
championship player.
Championship is a better defender than Harry.
Agreed, but look, it comes back again to the recruitment issue that Brian was talking about, and I want to touch on this. When we look at the players that have come through, say, for example, from David Moyes' time all the way up until now, we've had a serious recruitment crisis. We've been buying players, overloading certain positions. Like right now, we all know that we've been needing a central defensive midfielder for the longest time, but we haven't purchased that central defensive.
We got Scott McTominay.
You know, oh wow. Okay, we've been the reincarnation of Roy Keane, some say. But anyway, but
That's
we've
blasphemy, actually. But
you know, so we've been buying all these guys. We've added so many wingers. So we had an Anthony Martial. We tried to turn him from a winger into a central striker, and that only yielded results for one season, where we then came second. And then this next season, it wasn't working out. He's gone on loan. Now you've got Rashford, who, whenever he's coming on the field of play, it just doesn't seem to be working out. Jadon Sancho struggled, but he's now hitting some form. Now you've got an Anthony Elanga, who you are over-relying on because he's an under-19. Wow, he's a 19-year-old who's actually supposed to be learning the ropes from you, the senior players. Then you've got no central striker because Cristiano Ronaldo hit form first couple of games. Right now, he's missing for fun. In the Watford game, he was missing for fun. Edinson
I don't think
Cavani,
it's any fun for him. But
yeah. Edinson Cavani, he's injured all the time, even though there are rumors that maybe he's faking injuries, whatever that may be.
But he was always injury prone before he signed him.
Yeah,
Although he
before we
was
signed
free, he
him.
was
So
always
we've got
injury-prone.
serious problems where we've got overloads in certain areas and we've got serious deficiencies in others.
Like your Pogba.
Yeah, Pogba is on and off. He turns it on when he feels like it. That pass to Jadon Sancho for the goal was absolute genius.
draw.
But after that, it
is
was
the very,
dead.
But that is the very reason. I think the biggest thing, as much as we want to focus on United, is the team ethic that's there at City. I think that's what I envy the most, more than the coaching ability of Pep Guardiola or the technical ability of a Phil Foden, a Bernardo Silva, Kevin De Bruyne. But they work as a team. They run as a team. It's a solid unit. And at United, I think that's something that Ole used to try and instill, maybe not the team part, but the running. You say, you know what, no team should outrun us. Right now with Ralf Rangnick, it's like we press. But then when we press and then you play against a team like City who control the ball, I think we then lose our structure. Do you know the point? It's like we don't have that belief in the ideas that are being pushed by Ralf Rangnick. You saw those first 5 minutes. We were pressing. At one point, we were right in the last 16 pressing. But the moment City were composed and the moment they forayed into our final third, had that goal, we abandoned the plan. That's happening too often with United, abandoning the plan.
And also another thing which has also happened with Manchester United, they're not showing up every second half. If you have observed, it's a pattern. They don't play football in the second half. That's why half the time if they go...
And they say the second half belongs to the coaches, so I don't know.
I'm not so sure. But look, I think at the end of the day, the Manchester derby was something that has really woken up Manchester United fans to the fact that the distance or the gap between them and Liverpool and Manchester City is just ridiculous. And Chelsea is also running away, joining the Liverpool Man City band in terms of the quality of team that they are. But of course, you know, that's a debate that we can have for another day, and we'll be definitely having more of these talks and debates. So Sports Extra is back. We'll be giving you this episode every single Monday, looking at what is happening over the weekend, and of course what may be happening over the week. Champions League action is coming up. The big match that we're looking forward to, PSG versus Real Madrid. This one will be at the Santiago Bernabeu. Kylian Mbappe with so much to prove.
I think he's proved it already, but
yeah,
I
no,
think
like
the
guys,
script-
buy me.
the
Yeah,
script
it's like
has been
guys,
written.
buy me. That's what I think he's just simply saying to Ancelotti: buy me and buy me now because I want to come. So that's going to be interesting, and we'll be talking more about that when we come through to the next episode. But we're back. We're back with a bang. You can like and share our Facebook page, Instagram handle at Sports Extra Zim. And of course, a great big thank you to those that have decked us out. That is JFT Lifestyle. You'll be seeing lots more as well coming through on Sports Extra. So it leaves me to thank my co-host, Brian Matamba. Thank you so much. And of course, Tafazwa Ticha Ongwana, also known as Mr. Titch. And
You made me talk about the derby, but it's fine.
But a great big thank you, and of course a great big thank you to you, our fans, our viewers. Continue to like, continue to subscribe, even on our YouTube channel at Sports Extra ZW. That's our YouTube channel, and you'll be able to find a lot more content there. But up until next time, cheerio.